It is my very distinct pleasure to welcome you all to today's session. So our session today, our webinar is titled as Exploring Opportunities and Initiatives, and we'll be talking about the Young Ambassador Project Fund, and we will be giving you some insights about how to apply, what is the process, what has been our experiences, which will be followed by a Q&A session. And some of the former young ambassadors will be there, so you will have a chance to ask all of your questions. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to write that through the chat. And once we go through the Q&A session, you will have a chance to ask the questions directly to them. And if you have any concerns, anything you would like to share, please feel free to write it anytime in the chat box. We can go to the next slide. Okay, I have not introduced myself yet, so I'll go ahead and do that. My name is YAPF Kozakman. I am the current vice chair of the Young Leaders Circle. And I used to be the former Young Ambassador to District of Columbia. I served for 2 years and then became a member of the YLC. Currently, I am the vice chair, and I'll be the next chair after this term, after our fantastic chair, Francis's term. I'll briefly introduce you to YLC, Young Leaders Circle. I assume that some of you are familiar, but in case they're new, young ambassadors are with us today. I will briefly talk about what is YLC and what we do. You may be seeing a lot of emails from us in the past few weeks or months, so I'll update you about that. So we are a task force under American Society for Microbiology's membership board, and we serve them as advisors for youth and the early career microbiologists. So our aim is to act like a liaison between you, the young ambassadors, as well as student chapters, and convey all of your concerns, everything you're doing, all of your requests to ASM's membership board. So what we would like to do, basically, our biggest aim is to be able to help you, because you have been doing amazing work trying to help your communities, and we would like to help you in this process. So we would like to understand your needs and then express those needs to ASM, as well as do in our best effort to address them. And we have been doing some changes in the YLC. If you follow our Twitter account, we have been posting about those. First of all, we have a new beautiful logo designed by American Society for Microbiology's one and only Johnny. You can see it at the bottom of the slide. But we are not only doing the visual changes, we are doing a lot of different changes. So one of the biggest things that we have been doing is to communicate in a better way with you. And in order to do that, we created a survey. You may have seen an email, or if you follow our Twitter account, we posted about that. This survey is only and only for you, and it is asking you all the questions about your needs, your experience as a young ambassador. And based on your answers, we are trying to organize these seminars, webinars, or find ways to help you better. We also have a lot of other initiatives. We have a lot of sessions happening in Microbe 2024 this year, so we are all excited to see you there in person, hopefully. We have an early career microbiologist day planning in the works. We will be bringing a lot of amazing scientists. There will be a panel discussion. There will be cookies and coffee and tea. We'll be chatting a lot. We'll be talking about what is the best way to help our communities. In addition to that, you may have also seen that we started this initiative together with Kirsten to do Young Ambassador and Student Chapter Excellence Awards. We'll be sharing more updates about that very soon, so please stay tuned. We have many, many great things in the works, but I don't want to take too much of the time, because the aim of today is to talk about the project funds and how to have better applications or how to use those efficiently. So I'll stop here, but please feel free to write any questions you have in the chat box, and later we'll meet again at the Q&A.
Hi, I am Daniela Mendoza. I'm the Vice Educational Officer of the YLC, and I'm going to continue on the basics of the Young Ambassador Project Fund. So to start on, we really wanted to make let you understand why did this fund started. And the why is to help you as an ambassador and to help your community. The work you're doing is a volunteer work, and we know it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And for most of us, when you were an ambassador, most of the activities you wanted, you didn't have the way to make them. Sometimes universities can help and private laboratories can help, but sometimes you cannot find them. You're starting in a small community or it's not enough and you need someone else help. And that's where ASM decided to step up and help us in this way. So the why is to help you make a better job, to push all of the positive benefits of ASM to your community, and to help more the people you're invested in, your scientific community, your students, your every single ASM member, and that you can attach more people in your country to ASM's benefit. So first, I'm going to start on the evaluation criteria of the Young Ambassador Project Fund. What's the evaluation criteria? It's what they're going to look for in your proposal. For example, they want the potential to strengthen membership network. By that, I mean new members or members who are committed to ASM, members who are using ASM's resources. The fact that you can be able to share knowledge that thanks to ASM you can acquire and to give that to your community, to develop partnerships between laboratories, universities, and different institutions for students to get involved inside of ASM, to discover all of the magnificent opportunities they have inside of microbiology, the use of innovative technology and beyond technology, innovative ways of, for example, teaching or learning or doing research, as well having a sustainable impact as part of your scientific diplomacy. We always, and especially from the YLC, we always want you to push forward diversity, inclusion, and equity, especially as ambassadors. And for example, they're going to evaluate you on the cost of your idea and the impact it can have. For example, it's not the same that I want to spend my whole budget, that is, I don't know, $2,000 in just one small project for 10 people, that, for example, I can use $300 and do an activity for 100 people and divide my ideas. And the novelty of your idea. Be creative, be innovative. Everything new always may be for the better. So this gives you the opportunity to create new things and as well to have a general positive exposure to ASM. So you are, as an ambassador, the one who's going to broadcast the ability that this organization has to impact your country. And now I'm going to continue with the policies, procedures, and guidelines. So the ambassadors are going to be supportive by a competitive basis. So the limit is $2,500. However, you can receive less than that and you can apply for less than that. If you know that, for example, as an ambassador, you're not going to be able to use that amount in the year you're going to do activities, do not apply for it. Apply for something that's manageable and doable for yourself. So that's the top, but that doesn't mean you have to do only one activity on that budget. You can do smaller activities with less cost or only one activity with that cost. And applying for that doesn't mean we're going to get it. Of course, we do wish for it, but they are going to evaluate on competitive basis what's more doable, what's more realistic, and what's more innovative. So you can propose one or more, and you have to apply on time, especially since we're going to try 2 calls this year. So you're going to apply at the beginning of the year. If you're a new ambassador, you have not applied yet, you still have time. But if by any means you don't get the time to apply on the following month, you can also apply for a second call. So if you notice that you don't have enough planification for this call, do not worry, there's going to be a second chance. So maybe for the next one. And now, what are you going to start filling? So Kirsten most likely send a form to you. This is the form you're going to start seeing. So it's Young Ambassador Project Fund activity description. So First, you're going to fill something like that when you're going to apply. It has all of your data. And first, there's going to be a small resume, or a brief summary of your proposal. If you have many activities, you have to summarize each of them in this section, not just the most important. If you only have one activity, you summarize it then. And then the total funding requested. As I mentioned, there's a maximum, but you can request for less than that. And on the please list any non-monetary support, that means any other support that ASM can provide to you besides money, that there are many. I mean, there's speakers, there's advices, there's platforms, and there's many resources on ASM that you could also request through this project. And the last one, which is really important, is in a keywords, how your project is going to advance your objectives as an ambassador. When you apply first as an ambassador, you told us many great ideas you had for your new job. So this is the place where you're going to focus all of those ideas into a tangible project. And now each activity is going to look like this. If you only have one, this is the only one you're going to need to fill. If you have several, you just copy and paste. I know the format that they send you only limits to 3 activities. That does not mean you can only apply to 3. You just need to copy and paste, and you can apply to as many as you distribute your funds for. You're going to give basic data about your project, but it's most important that when you do apply, you need to plan out something that is as serious as possible, and that if needed, you could do it for the next week. It's not like, oh, I wish I would do, I don't know, I wish I would do a party downstairs in my house. You need to know where is the house, where is that place. For example, so I want to do a workshop in a university. It's better if you already provide us with more specifics on the activity. Which university, to what date, who is going to help you? So that, for example, if you're going to have any collaborations in this event, for example, the university or a scientific institution that is going to help you, and what type of activity is it going to be? A workshop, a symposium, different activities with the community. So this here is going to help you explain every single idea, and it also helps you to organize what do you need to know. Where do I want it? When is going to be? Who is going to participate? Is it only members of ASM, or is it for anyone? And this really helps you to plan out. So use these guidelines as your tool to having ideas on how to advance. And most importantly, the last part where it says budget, if there's something you don't know where it fits, you can use the other and include it there and specify what you're asking money for. Always, as a tip, do all your math many times. Sometimes the budgets don't match, and it's really important that what you're asking for, it's coherent, and when we look at it in your budget, everything adds up. And now, Francis, you may continue.
Thank you. I was typing a response. I hope people saw it. Anyways, thank you, Daniela, for this opportunity. I'm Francis Muchamba. I'm the current YLC chair. I might be a little bit sleepy. I was on a 19-hour flight, so forgive me if I might lose my coordination along the way. So next slide.
Sorry, I don't know why Adronisha's slides came on first. Let me see. Yes, they came out first. Let me see. Adronisha, could you please start? Sorry.
No
Sure thing.
problem.
Sure thing. So good afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you're at. My name is Adronisha Frazier, and I'm currently the YLC Vice Publication Officer, former Young Ambassador to the state of Louisiana. And we currently have a new Young Ambassador that I hope you guys get to meet very soon. So you can change it to the next slide, please. Okay, so when I first submitted my proposal, we know that in 2021, pandemic measures were still in place, so you really couldn't do too much because of that. So I did a virtual talk. Well, I actually did a talk at my job where I serve as the Natural Sciences Department Chair, and I did that talk during Women's History Month, and so that was just one thing I was able to do for 2021. But the thing that I really want to talk to you guys about is on the next slide. Excuse me. Oh, you can change it still, yeah. All right, so in 2022 or in 2021, I actually wanted to do a library series. And so the library series wasn't feasible in 2021 because of the pandemic measures that were still in place. So I wasn't able to set that up again. So in 2022, I reached out to 7 library locations to do a library bacteria grub at the library, an activity with kids in grade school. So I was able to write up my proposal for about, I think I wrote $750, or I know I wrote $750 for 7 library locations. So this is one location, which is the furthest location from where I live. It's a 4-hour drive to that location and 4 hours back, but I had a blast. I was able to contact the librarian at that particular library, and they put me in contact with the education specialist. I was able to set up the event. And so when I talked with them about the idea, I then put this in my proposal, what I wanted to do, and I submitted it. And of course, it was approved. And so with these activities, you can get your supplies from local stores. Like I went to my local home improvement store and I was able to purchase like my incubator to grow the different plates for the students to see or the kids to see afterwards. And of course, I ordered my bacteria from different places that such as VWR Carolina. But for this particular activity, the kids were able to do environmental sampling. So that was another big part of my proposal. I wanted to do environmental sampling. Like I said before, I am in Louisiana. And in Louisiana, we have a very rich environment, very nutrient filled. We have a lot of different events that go on here, like hurricanes. We have just a lot of stuff that goes on here environmentally. So I felt it was very important to showcase things that the kids don't think about in regards to like how it impacts their lives. And so I think that scientific literacy is a really big deal for Louisianians because it makes up a big part of who we are. So I now, because of these different activities, I do still come and interact with the librarian. So I'm going to be doing something with my local librarian this upcoming spring. And so I'm also able to talk about these different things like STEM literacy, science literacy, microbiology, and it's very impactful because I still have those connections with those students, with those parents even, because I have parents that also participate. And it all started because I looked at that proposal, I identified the things that I noticed in my community, and I wanted to make an impact by just reaching out. So the picture to the left shows the kids at the library in Shreveport, Louisiana. The middle picture talks about or shows the flyer for a talk that I gave at the University of, Xavier University of Louisiana. And for that one, I actually was able to give out 2 ASM student memberships because of the proposal. And it worked out really well. And then on the right-hand side, we had an agri art competition at my institution. So now I have students and faculty that are looking forward to having agri art competitions because I was able to give them gift cards that based on first, second, and third place for the best plates. And so on the bottom, you'll see like on the left-hand side, our art professor did that. Like that's a cathedral. And she did that out of bacteria. She couldn't participate though. She's an art professor. She could not participate because she'd win. But that is an example of some of the art. The middle one was Garfield won first place. The third picture is a mermaid fin. Yeah. And she won second place. But all in all, these activities have brought together my students. They're more engaged with having conversations about like bacteria, how it affects their lives. And then also with my faculty members that do not like talking about bacteria anyways, but they're interested in these different conversations. And I think I have one more slide. Yep. So if you have questions, you can use that QR code, but we're going to also have time at the end to take questions from you guys as well. So thank you so much for taking time to listen to me.
Thank you, Darnisha. So I think I'm going to switch presentations for a minute. Yes, just give me a second because I'm pretty sure I opened up the presentation that wasn't the appropriate one. Give me a second. So wait a second. This was the old one, and this is the current one. And I'm here. So I'm on Francis, and I'm on share my screen.
Daniela, you just want me to sleep on the screen today.
Yes.
I should have been done and gone, but anyways, it's me again.
Great.
So I briefly talk about how to organize conferences and this sort of things, symposiums and workshops. So during my time as an ambassador, next slide, please. I sort of focused on doing symposiums, workshops, and conferences because I had seen that there was a problem. As early career scientists, we often don't get enough presentation opportunities. When we do get them, they tend to be posters. And when we do get them, if our professors are there, sometimes it's quite scary to express ourselves, to really network and do all those things that you'd want to do in a free environment. So I created a symposium starting in COVID time, which was an online event. You can click to the next one, which then moved to 2022, which became an in-person event. The next slide. And 2023, it became even much more bigger than the previous events. There in the picture, it's me and the organizing committee. So one thing that is really important, maybe you will have a list at the end later on where you will see all the things that are important in developing a symposium or a conference, is for you to have an organizing committee, people that help you. Because as an ambassador, one important element of being an ambassador is to form networks and to have this leadership capacity. So one thing I quickly realized is that no man can stand as a sole island. So I grouped myself with different people who I knew had some better expertise in doing certain things than me, people better at IT, people better at graphic designing and marketing, and we collaborated to form an organizing committee which is leading up to this Swiss Young Microbiology Symposium. You can click next slide. These are just some images from these conferences where, for example, there you can see some drinks, some lunch and all these sort of things. You have to have something that makes it attractive. So in this case, I used, you can click again, please. I used the project funds that I got to provide speaker monies for the people that we would invite, keynote speakers we are inviting. Also to provide lunch, to provide a networking opportunity where there was like at the end of every conference, we have like an open mixer where people have drinks and beer. I know most students or most early career scientists like free beer and free snacks. So this can be an attraction point. And for logistic purposes, all my conferences or all the symposiums that we do and workshops are for free because accountability of the registration fees and the logistics is usually very difficult. So I often go for free things, and this is also what makes it a bit more attractive. And I write on ASM's name to promote these events. Next slide. Now going into 2024, I'm no longer the ambassador to Switzerland, young ambassador to Switzerland, but the person who was in part of my organizing committee is now the new ambassador to Switzerland. So the symposium is ongoing now into its fourth year. Here, I just want to point out it's quite important for you to have an online presence, whether it be on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, to market your program. Like this is an example of a poster that we are using to market the symposium. Next slide. There are different types of things that you can do in the conference or workshop setup. You can click, there are several pictures, Daniel. This is a water testing conference or workshop that we did with kids or youth from the church that I attend and other kids from the community, where we were testing or teaching them how to test water quality. When you go to ASM Microbe, you will see there's a professor there that teaches us how to do water quality testing. So you have to leverage some of the things that are offered by ASM and then take them back into your own community and develop workshop from there. So I just took several kids from this, from ASM Microbe actually, and then brought them and did a water quality testing workshop. Next slide. One thing that is key as an ambassador, you have to understand what your community wants. So understand the needs of your community. So I did a needs assessment and I saw that my community struggled a lot in terms of presentation skills. So we did this award-winning talk workshop where we were teaching PhD students and master students how to do or how to present, how to sell their signs. You can click, there's a statement about how to sell your signs. So you also make it to be in an attractive environment. This we were doing in the mountainous area of Switzerland in Davos, which is really nice and exotic. So people liked to go there, and we combined it with other activities that happen in Davos. So it's not just making it into a conference about academics, but you could also combine it with other leisure things to make it more attractive. Next slide. So you can click through them. Basically, you have to define the purpose and the scope of your conference. What is your target audience? Do you want everyone to attend, or you want a particular group of people to attend? Do you need an organizing committee? You have to set a budget and select a venue. You have to rigorously promote the event. This means that you have to have it clearly planned. For my events, like for my symposiums and workshops, I start advertising them 6 months before the event. So I have enough time for people to register, where I say handle registrations. I have enough time to secure speakers and presenters, because at the beginning, in the first one, which was the online version, I actually had to beg people to come and present. But now, fast forward 4 years later, we now have to do an abstract selection process. So it will take time. And one of the biggest challenges that I faced was for people to recognize me not as a spam email, because most of you guys get spam emails inviting you to be speakers or inviting you to conferences. So how I overcame this, I attached myself to my professor, who is well known in Switzerland. So I would always CC him when I was inviting people. And the people would write him and ask him whether this is genuine. And then he would say, yes, it's genuine. And initially we piggybacked our conference website onto our university website as well. So when people would visit the university website, they would see that, oh, there's this genuine conference. And now we've migrated it into a standalone conference. The next slide. What you will realize is that when you try to do conferences, especially the scale that I do them, where it's like for the whole of Switzerland, the project fund might not be sufficient. And in my case, it's not sufficient because Switzerland is quite expensive. And even if I get the 2,500, usually it's not sufficient. So what I've leveraged is the power of ASM Microbe as a brand to go to different sponsors like University of Zurich, Delica, all these different organizations and local societies and even supermarkets, anyone who does something to do with microbiology, and try to make them collaborators and sponsors. And this has really helped me to establish myself and establish the ASM ambassador role, and to establish this conference as a conference series in Switzerland. So I hope this can help you. And if you have any questions, I'm available to discuss at the end of the session. Thank you.
So I'm just going to fast forward Renisha's, going to the next. Now we'll start with Idiola.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Iola, and I'm a vaccinology student and the YLC networking officer. And I was a former ASM Young Ambassador to Nigeria. So in the course of this presentation, I'll be discussing ASM student chapters. So during my tenure as the ASM Young Ambassador, I realized that there were no ASM student chapters in Nigeria, and there were a couple of them all over the world. And one of the roles as young ambassadors is to help facilitate ASM student chapters in your country. And I was able to facilitate that in 3 universities. But basically, I would just mention about ASM student chapter in case we don't know about it. But more information can be found on the ASM website. So basically, ASM student and postdoctoral chapters serve students and postdocs who are interested in microbiology at local universities. So, and a way a university can start ASM chapter is to draft a constitution, seek university sponsorship, and select an ASM member within their university as an advisor, and also draft an action plan and request sponsorship from ASM ambassador. That's a recommendation letter, and this can be the young or country ambassador. So basically, next slide. What I did was that and this application will be submitted to the website. That's still casting. So what I did was that I leveraged on the existing Nigerian Association of Microbiology students in Nigeria. So usually most universities in Nigeria have NAMS as local chapters within their universities. And I felt like since they have these existing structures already with leadership and constitution, they could as well register to become ASM student chapter. And one of the benefits of them being ASM student chapter is that ASM also supports their activities as well, just like the Young Ambassador. And it's really important because this can also help to strengthen your own activities as a Young Ambassador as well. So these ASM student chapters were in 3 universities: Joseph Ayo Babalola University, Kwara State University, and my alma mater, University of Ilorin. And I will just be discussing some of the activities and initiatives that were led by the ASM student chapter. So to start with, next slide, please. Yeah, there was an early career scientist symposium at Joseph Ayo Babalola University, and these were some of the pictures that were taken at the events. And next slide. And yeah, similar to what Francis said, they also carried out activities on water testing. So some of these kits were provided by the ASM country ambassador as well, and they carried out this water testing within their community at Kwara State University. And in my alma mater, I organized a career speakers event where I talked about ASM and also careers in microbiology, basically. Next slide. So what are the roles, what would be your specific role as a young ambassador in helping to establish ASM student chapter? I think the first thing you have to do is you have to represent ASM at local events, and this is where you have the opportunity to meet several universities and their representative, and you discuss the benefit of ASM at these local events, as well as discussing the possibilities of students and most especially graduate students establishing ASM student chapters within their university. And then you provide technical support for them in preparing the application material. So one of the things that I did, because they already had their existing structure, but they were always concerned about how to draft an action plan, for example. And I helped these universities draft their action plan for their application. And also, I also provided a letter of support for prospective student chapters. So basically, I'll just write an email to Kestin that's, we worked on the ASM student chapter together, and I recognize them as an existing student society within their university. And also you promote ASM student chapters events as well with your social media, and as much as possible, provide any advice or suggestions to carry out their events as well. So I guess that's the end of my slide. Oh, yeah, so this was the picture that I took at Kwara State University when I met with their leadership. That was the president of the Nigerian Association of Microbiology Students as of then, and also the head of department of the microbiology department, talking about ASM and also ASM student chapter. And it was following this meeting that we're able to work together to establish an ASM student chapter within their university. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Leola. So now we're going to open the floor for the Q&A. First, we do have some pending questions from the chat, and I did wanted to start with Francis. Many of the participants were asking, how much did the conference cost, and how did you manage to fund all of the conference?
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. I would say the cost is really variable depending on where you are. And I think all would know Switzerland is quite expensive, so the figure that I might give might not be applicable to some other places. So roughly the last conference was like 6,000. The next one is going to be a little bit higher because we anticipate more people. What I would say is we have like 1,200 going to awards. So already that's pretty hefty in itself. Then we provide everyone lunch. Then we provide everyone breakfast. Then we have this like an after conference party. And then the organizing committee also goes to a thank you dinner and keynote speakers. So it's quite extensive in the things that we then do, which makes the budget a bit higher. But how we go around it is I apply for grants. Our university offers conference grants. As an alumni, like I'm now a postdoc, so there's also an organization that has several funds from previous university goers or PhD graduates, where you can also apply for funds that benefit students in the university. So I try to leverage my previous connections and my networks, and also use ASM as a brand to go to companies like Delica, which is like a supermarket within Switzerland, to ask for example, coffee capsules and these sort of things. So you have to work within the context of wherever you are, your state, your country. Make it attractive for the people. Like, so I think the best presenter gets like 300 ASM membership and a certificate, so which makes it attractive. That's why we are now being flooded with abstracts. But it depends on where you are and how extensive you want the conference to be. Now it's now a household name. We also have expenses for a website that we run. I can share the link for the website. So these are things that you can grow it and get collaborators. And I'm sure most organizations doing microbiology companies would want to also fund you. So that's how I have sort of gone around it. Now it's more like a set thing. It's easy to do because we did the groundwork some 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
Thank you, Francis, for the valuable information. Another of the question is, now that we do have 2 calls for the Young Ambassador Project Fund, can someone apply for both calls, or should they apply for the first one, for the second one? How is it going to work exactly?
If no one wants to answer, I can just quickly answer this. So this year is a special year because Kirsten was not there in the initial part of the year. So for the appointment of the new ambassadors was late. So this is why the deadline for the new ambassadors in quotes has been moved to the 15th of March. And from the last like onboarding webinar that Kirsten did, loosely other people can also apply, but it's mainly for the new ambassadors. And then the June intake or the June application window, everyone can apply, whether you have applied before on the 15th of March or on the 1st of February, you are free to apply. It's just that it's going to be competitive. What I just then advise is please try not to just apply and get the funds and not use them. Because to be honest, when you have funds allocated to you as a group like the Young Ambassadors, when we don't use those funds, it gives us a bad image in a way, because we might be seen as though we are not utilizing those funds. So I really encourage for us to maintain the Young Ambassador Project Fund. We have to apply for funds that we really need. And then when we have them, we try to utilize them. I think I will just also jump into the question about what do we do with excess funds. You have to report to Kirsten that you have excess funds in good time, that if those funds can be redirected to some other project or to another ambassador, that they can be used in that financial year.
Yes, and just on that idea, if you do have leftover money or budget from your first project, you can also propose to Kirsten after announcing that you did have some money left. And if there's still time in the year, you can propose another activity for which you will use the leftover money. They will summarize it, they will study it again. And if possible, I had that chance in my previous years, they will actually grant it, as that money was pretty much allocated for you. You have to do a whole proposal again, but that way you can avoid leaving money, and you can make the most of what was already granted for you. Another of the questions we had was from here. How can one state ambassador promote or organize an event in another state?
I can go ahead and answer that. So I think there is no rule against it. If you are the sole organizer of an event outside your state, I don't think there is anything against it, but it may not look the best. So my suggestion is to have someone from the other state that you would like to organize the event at to help you. Or you can definitely create a group of young ambassadors or other volunteers. So it is not just you. There is no rule against it, but just to make it look better, you can have someone in that state helping you.
Thank you, Yaprak.
Okay.
And we also have a question as I'm in my third year as a young ambassador. As far as I understand, it must be the last. Yes, it is the last. And there's no more after that. What's next? How can I continue to be involved with the ASM? I think this one's perfect for anyone in the YLC, so you may go.
Yes, I can just say something regarding that. So one of the things I would recommend that you do with all of your experiences is to perhaps apply as a member of YLC. Yeah, so yeah, that will be useful. And there are also other opportunities to volunteer with ASM. For example, I'm a task force member of the ASM Microbiolip, and we've been working to facilitate the TOL Training of Leaders Scholars Program. So, and you definitely see in the volunteer with ASM section different opportunities to get involved with ASM. And as the young ambassador for 3 years, I'm sure if you put up application for these opportunities when they come, I believe that they would want to welcome you back. And I also wanted to comment on the previous question. So if you as the young ambassador in US want to organize an event in another state, then I think you should perhaps reach out to the young ambassador from that state and possibly collaborate with the young ambassador in the states. That would be great, because I think almost every US state has a young ambassador. Yeah.
I will just quickly add something and just echo Leola's words. So if your young ambassador term is ending and if you're still looking for opportunities to volunteer under the ASM's roof, please come to us. So YLC is always happy to receive any and all applications from you. We are excited to work with you. So YLC is can be seen even as the next step after being the young ambassador, because now we act as the liaisons between ASM and young ambassadors. We'll open our application cycle very soon in a couple months, or maybe earlier. We'll definitely be posting about that. But we are always looking for new members, and we will be really happy to have you.
Just maybe to jump in a little bit. There's a link, or there's a sub branch of the ASM website which talks about volunteering with us. So there are many different options, as Iliola mentioned, these different subcommittees. But you could also be part of the ASM microbe committee. They have a call. I think it's just closed on the 27th of February. And you could also apply to be a country ambassador because you still have the experience. On rare occasions, you can move countries and still apply to be a young ambassador in that new country. So if you are determined to be a young ambassador for more than one term or up to 6 years, you can move countries. I know a couple of young ambassadors who were fortunate to move countries and have become ambassadors for, in quotes, 2 terms in a way.
Thank you, Francis, for the suggestion of relocating. So if anyone else has any more questions, I think we just answer all of the ones we had in the chat. Yes, Yusuf, you can make a question.
Yusuf, you're muted.
Okay. Please, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yusuf, we did hear you at the beginning, but right now you don't sound at all for us. Could you please repeat your question?
I think probably maybe his connection is lost or something.
Yes, I think I'm going to try to text him.
In the meantime, if you have any questions to the YLC, I wrote our email address in the chat box. So feel free to send an email, feel free to reach us anytime with any questions, anything. We'll be happy to help you.
Yes, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
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 First, thank you for sharing this experience with us. It was very inspiring. I had the bad connection for the net, so I don't know if you answered this question before. My question is: it's allowed to have sponsorship from company like a microbiological company for lab? This allow if I go for conference for ASM?
Yeah, it's allowed as long as it's openly communicated to Kirsten. Because when you are getting this funding, you are getting it also under the name of ASM. So there has to be a lot of transparency, honesty, as long as Kirsten and ASM is in the loop. Before you accept any funding, you have to consult with Kirsten whether they approve. But as in my case, I've received a lot of funding from other third-party organizations, which is not my university or ASM, and there's not been a problem. No hassle at all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So it's better to collaborate with a governing party or organization in my country than company, or it's the same.
Exactly, because that's one thing that we want to do as ASM, right? Not to just stay in the lane of academia, but to go out also into industry. If you look into the new strategic plan of ASM, it's not just about academia, but also going into industry, going into community. So we want to have influence in academia, we want to have influence in industry, and we also want to have influence in the society, which are the three pillars that we want to do to promote science literacy, to promote collaboration and networking. So the more companies that you can, or the more organizations you can put in your activities, the better it is for ASM and for you also as an ambassador, because you're opening doors and opportunities for yourselves as well when these big companies know about you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Is there anyone else?
I was
Yes,
just
Yusuf.
thinking if Yusuf can try again. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, please, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, now we do.
Thank you so much. Yes, I actually lost my network, so I think it's from my hand. So what I'm trying to say is the issue raised by Francis the other time concerning need assessment. So I really appreciate that. Even though if you are aware of what is happening in your community, the best way for you to be very sure of what is happening is to conduct a need assessment, know what the community needs, and then you'll be able to like tailor your proposal to suit their needs. So as a public health student, I really appreciate the importance of needs assessment. Like it should be evidence-based. What exactly is required in the community? So what I'm trying to ask, the question I'm trying to ask is this: like in Nigeria, just like the former ambassador Yola Oladejoye said, like we actually, there are a lot of issues in Nigeria that microbiology students are facing. So the issue is multifaceted. So, and then I don't think we can address everything at once. So we'll just be doing our best to make sure that we are addressing it gradually. So I want to ask, like, if we are trying to submit our proposal, is there a room for additional, if you want to like share additional information or attachments to like buttress your proposal? Because the first thing I did when I got my appointment letter was that I discussed with the former ambassador that, okay, I would like to conduct a need assessment, which I have done. So I tried to like develop a questionnaire online, then share it with microbiology students in Nigeria. So I was able to gather responses to know exactly what they need. So now the responses have been gathered, and very soon I'll be conducting a kind of minor analysis on it. So the question now is there a room for attachment of those results so as to like show that, okay, these particular activities that I want to carry out, the 3 activities that I would like to carry out is based on the survey I conducted among the microbiology students in Nigeria. So thank you.
Does anyone want to answer, or I just jump on it? So thank you for your question and for the elaboration. So one thing that is key when you are sending applications, you want them to be as brief and as direct as possible. So that being said, if you articulate your issue or how you're going to promote it, there might not necessarily be need to make the attachment. But if you feel that it will promote your case, you can make the attachments. But for the things that I've evaluated, not that I evaluate these ones, but for the grants that I do evaluate, the more voluminous the material, sometimes the less attractive it becomes to read, because you can imagine the evaluators have so many. So try to articulate your case in the sections that you have been given. And I believe if you articulate it well, it will come across. It's also then encouraged, if you want to put them, you can put them and refer to them that this is the thing that I want to do, but make sure it's in a format that is easy to appreciate the message that you want to convey. Because if it's all these long responses, it may be difficult for the people who are evaluating to appreciate it. So try to make sure it's maybe in a graph that is clear, or in a table that is clear what you want to communicate. But in all my cases, I've never had to make an attachment, and I've been getting the grants for the past 3 years. So it's just trying to articulate your case in those few words. And I think they can easily evaluate whether it's relevant and all these things. But just make sure it's well thought out before you make the application, and articulate the relevance, why you want to do it, and how ASM will benefit from it. I hope that helps.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So it really helps. Thanks so much.
Adding up to what just Francis said, I did have an idea, Yusuf, on your case. Some ambassadors get the idea that you only need to report back to Kirsten when it's on the project fund. However, every single activity that you do that you're doing representing ASM, and it does have an impact on your community, as for example, the survey you're mentioning, it's good that you report it back to Kirsten so they know about your work, and also so they know where you're standing. So maybe you did not use any of ASM's resources for doing it, you use your own resources, but the results, they do help you. And usually around the Young Ambassador Project Fund, as an ambassador, you're going to build your own record. They're going to see if the last year you spent all of your money and if you did all of your activities. And this adds up as well, even if you're a new ambassador, because you're leaving that you do have a good record, you're starting with a good foot, you already assess your community. And that way you don't make your proposal too long. So you reported it earlier. You sent an email this week. Hey, Kirsten, we did this survey. These are our findings. That way, inside of the community, you're already planting the idea of the needs your community has. And then on your proposal, you're going to ask exactly for that. So you don't make a single document too long, but you don't miss all of that valuable work that you did as an idea.
Oh, thank you so much. That really helps. I really appreciate it.
We are piggybacking on what you just said, Daniela. It's really important that people realize what you're doing. And I think it also helps because you build credibility, right? So when you then propose something, people already know the groundwork that you have done, and then it becomes easier for them to appreciate the relevance of your project. So I really encourage whatever you do, which is relevant, just send it through and keep people updated. Also, as the YLC, we are always doing the newsletters. So whatever you are doing and you feel it's relevant, just update us. Update us on the Facebook, update us on the new ASM Connect page, what you have been doing. And we learn from each other and we take ideas from each other as Yusuf have done this needs assessment. We need to post about it on ASM Connect and all these things so that the other incoming ambassadors or even the older ambassadors, in terms of the term, not older in age, but so that they also get these ideas and we start to implement it as a family. So it's about collaboration, sharing, and then reporting so that we can learn from it and further develop the program.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you
Francis.
so much. Thank you.
And thank you, Yusuf, for the valuable question. So to summarize the event, we did wanted to leave you with some key takeaways. That first, the Young Ambassador Project Fund is here to help you and your work promoting ASM. It's supposed to be an ally. It's going to be a challenge, but it's an ally. And please remember to be innovative, to plan with anticipation. The more plan and the more structure you have, the more possible it is to get your dream budget. And as well, you can always ask for help. We are here. All of the Young Little Circle members are former ambassador or student chapter members. So we do know how to manage the Young Ambassador Project Fund, and we always are open to advise you on your projects and to give you more ideas. And as well, here you can contact us. We're leaving our Young Little Circle X, which was formerly Twitter. It's ASM YLC, and we also have our email, the website, and the new page on the ASM Ambassadors Connect. And thank you for assisting, and thank you for all the speakers for devoting your time to helping every single new ambassador.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Our webinar ends here, but please feel free to reach us at any time. We would be happy to answer your questions. Take care and have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for
Bye.
connecting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.